And a very good morning. Noah Forden joins us on Air Sports News. Noah, where are you right now?
Good morning, Regan. I'm in Rhode Island, USA, the northeast corner of the United States, up by Boston.
We're on the same time zone. I always like it when I'm on the same time zone as somebody.
Makes it a little easier. Both enjoying our coffee.
Yeah. Hey, congratulations on the America's Challenge.
Thank you very much. Very exciting to win. It's been a long time dream, many decades in the making. So thank you very much.
You and Bert Padelt, is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And
my longtime mentor and friend, co-pilot and instructor. Sure.
Oh, so he was your original instructor, was he?
He was, yes. I joined a balloon club down in North Carolina about 5 years ago and took some instruction from Bert. I'm a longtime hot air pilot, but only a gas pilot for about 5 years now. So Bert was my original instructor, and we went on to build a balloon together and fly in the America's Challenge.
Fantastic. Is that your first America's Challenge, Noah?
No, this is my fourth this year.
Right.
I flew the first one in 2016, 2017, 2018 was canceled due to the proximity with the Gordon Bennett, and then of course 2020 was canceled.
Yes. Right. Well, tell me a bit about it then. Took the win. I was reading some of your Facebook posts were quite funny about losing things in the basket. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was an exciting race for us. Of course, we went very high. It was very cold. That was probably the most notable thing. About 11 degrees in the basket up there overnight, and all of our water was freezing. It didn't quite freeze solid, but makes it very difficult to drink with ice crystals in it.
Yeah.
And with all the clothes we had, I have everything that I had on me, and it was still bone-chillingly cold. There's just no way to escape it. You can't really move and do jumping jacks to warm up there. So, and with my partner sleeping or me sleeping, we've got to be careful to make sure we're getting good rest up there. So moving around is very limited. When the sun came up, it was very welcomed, but even with the sun on all of our water, it still didn't melt it. It was still in the 20s during the day. So we never had our water thaw out, which was kind of annoying, but we were still up in the 16s the following day and tried to maintain that altitude to get as much speed as we could, because as we know, the winds were very light during this race, and the strongest winds were very high, and even those were very light in the teens. The low teens at that in knots. So we just figured to take advantage of those, we'd have to go high and be on oxygen most of the flight.
What height did you go to? No, what height?
We went as high as 17,400 feet. We wanted to get as close to 18 Class A as we could. Yeah. But we were using a lot of ballast staying up there. So after being up there for a little while, we decided to come down a little bit and kind of let the balloon do what it wanted to do, and not use as much ballast. So we kind of settled in at about 16 to 17, somewhere in there for the most of the remainder of the flight.
Yeah. Being cold is a horrible thing. There's not much you can do about it. Sherry and Mark were telling me about it. It was really, really bitter for you guys as well. With all the correct gear, you're wearing the correct jackets, you've got the thermals, you've got all the gear.
It still doesn't do it. It'll do it for a few hours, but once you're up there for many hours, it really just starts to sink in. And like I said, not being able to move and being on oxygen is really trying as well. It has no humidity to it, and the air up there has no humidity. So for me, it really dries out your sinuses, and that's very uncomfortable. Your nose is dripping because it's freezing cold, but your sinuses are drying out from all the dry air and the dry oxygen. And after many hours, that takes its toll. And we were on oxygen for probably, I don't know, 35 of the 30 or 33 of the 36 hours. There were probably only 2 or 3 hours we were not on oxygen. So that takes its toll as well.
Wow. So tell me a bit about your gas balloon in then 5 years. What made you change? You must have been thinking about it for a while, as you must have had your eyes on the gas balloons. And what was it that made you think, I'm going to do this?
Definitely. Yeah, this is a dream I wanted to do for decades. I went to my first gas balloon race in 1990. And have always wanted to do this, and it's just a very difficult thing to get into. And I had the opportunity to join this club 5 years ago, thanks to, again, my mentor and friend Bert Padelt and Mike Emick and others in the Gas Balloon Club here in North Carolina. And so that was a great opportunity, and I jumped on it and got my training right away and loved it, and knew this was something I wanted to get into for a long time. I've been flying hot air for 30 plus years. So I've always watched these races, always been a fan, always followed them very closely, and just jumped at the chance when I had it. So Yeah, built a balloon with Bert 5 years ago, and started doing some of these races and doing training flights in the off years where we weren't able to fly during the America's Challenge. And I've made it a big push to try to find more affordable hydrogen for balloonists in the United States, so we can fly more frequently and be more competitive.
How's that going?
It's going very well. We identified a source in Tennessee that we did a flight down there in 2018. Unfortunately, that company was purchased by a larger company with all of the expansion going on in hydrogen. Yeah. And so they were no longer able to sell to us. So we were on to looking for another source, and I identified another source in West Virginia. And we did a flight last year on Halloween night during a full moon, which was a very exciting, good time with this new source. But this is much closer in proximity to us than Albuquerque. It's a 4 or 5 hour drive to get out there. Yeah. And it's very scenic. It's the hills of Western Pennsylvania and West Virginia. Very, very hospitable to ballooning, many landing sites. So it's a good place to train. You can still do some longer flights from there. So I'm really excited about that. And having affordable hydrogen and be able to fly more often is really something I'd like to see more of.
Yeah. Tell me a bit about your balloon. Tell me about your equipment. How did that come about?
So Bert has been flying in these races since they started 24 years ago. Yeah. With his partner, Louis Vitanza. Of course, they were flying helium. And when helium kind of changed over to hydrogen, Louis elected to kind of get out of it, I guess. And so Bert had the balloon and the basket. And so it was just a matter of building a hydrogen envelope and using that basket. And of course, we upgraded the electrical system and made a new electrical system that was a little more modern with solar panels and a solar controller to keep everything charged. And so we got a very capable avionics suite and power system that we can fly for many days. And then upgrades to the oxygen system that allow us to fly on oxygen for a long time. Yeah. So we've got conserving systems that will just give you a small pulse of oxygen at the beginning of your inhalation. I think a lot of folks are using those, but so we're using those and just upgrades here and there. But it's a Padel 1,000 cubic meter, like you see in many of the folks racing the America's Challenge. Yeah.
Are we going to see you perhaps in Switzerland next year?
I'm hoping so. Bert has been over there a couple times. He had one flight. He posted a video on Facebook, I think it was last night, showing their launch. I think it was 2003. It was quite a hairy launch. It was very, very windy. Yeah. And I know he's not excited to be launched in those conditions again. So I'm hoping I can twist his arm and we can put something together. But that's up in the air right now.
All right. And tell me about your ballooning career a little bit. Let's get to know a bit about your last 30 years, Noah. How did it all begin for you?
So I was an engineering student and got interested in building model airplanes. And a friend of mine in my dorm freshman year in college showed me plans on how to build a little plastic balloon with birthday candles. And we built one of those and took it out. And it didn't quite lift it. Not enough heat to put to make this thing rise. It would just inflate. So we fashioned a little tray of tin foil with alcohol in it. And that would inflate it and go up. But as it went up, it kind of tipped and the alcohol fell out and made raining, fire coming out of the balloon and about set a tree on fire. And wow. I thought, well, what if you could control the heat going into the balloon? And being that I was into radio controlled balloons or radio controlled airplanes, I thought, well, I could make a radio controlled balloon. Yeah. And so I spent the next year doing that, perfecting the burner. My mother sewed the envelope and I wove the basket. And I met my good friend, Paul Stumpf, who's obviously a longtime balloonist here in the Northeast. And he helped me out tremendously. He, sold me wicker and parts for this balloon and helped me. And I remember showing up at his shop one day with 3 pages of written questions on how do you build a balloon. And he was very patient with me and really took me under his wing to show me how to do this. So I started building these balloons with Paul, and we built them and sold them internationally. When I was a college student, we sold some in Japan and some in Germany and some in the United States. And Paul offered me a job at his repair station. I started working in his repair station, doing repairs and inspections and building banners and all the building accessories, all the things that Paul's business was doing at the time. And I graduated from college and didn't want a real job. I wanted to work in ballooning. So I applied at Aerostar International, Regan, the original manufacturer of the modern hot air balloon. And they offered me a job back in 1990 after I graduated from college. I worked for them for a few years, designing large ride baskets and various projects for hot air, among other things. And that was a blast. Living in South Dakota was a little tough, so I moved on from there to Colorado. But I've been flying hot air balloons, for 30 years now. So it's been fun.
Interesting. So, as an engineer, can you see any potential upgrades? I mean, there's not much you can do different really with ballooning, I would imagine, technology-wise. Can you think of anything for the future which might come along?
Oh, everything I look at, I see potential. Absolutely. Certainly for weight savings, but yeah, I've got a lot of ideas.
Secret ideas.
Well, some of them, yeah. Certainly a lot of weight saving options. New materials, lighter weight materials, integrating those and making sure that they're safe and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think there's a lot of potential for that, for sure.
And what are you doing now on a daily basis?
I work for the Navy. I work on a lot of
more secret stuff. More secret stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. Very interesting. We'll have to you've got to come to Switzerland because we've got to sit down and have a chat about this kind of stuff. You've piqued my interest a little bit now.
Yeah, my day job keeps me very busy, but it's interesting to work for the Navy because the Navy, of course, has a long history in ballooning back in the days when the Navy used lighter than air craft to search for submarines and the like, and operated balloons for training and blimps for submarine patrols, and there's a long history of Navy involvement in lighter than air, and that's always a fascination for me, that history and understanding that, knowing that, and that's a kind of a neat parallel. Yeah,
indeed it is. Indeed it is. So the America's Challenge, the launch, there's a lot of people there. How do you manage that's kind of a crowd? I mean, is it on your mind, or you've got marshals and?
The Fiesta provides marshals. You've seen them with their zebra outfits, so they do some to keep the crowd at bay. But it's a little bit of we're very focused, and so all of a sudden just there's all these people around. You didn't even know they were coming, and it's a little bit hard to stay focused when people are asking questions and we're trying to get our pre-launch checklist completed. But it requires a lot of focus, and but it's fun. It's really neat to have all these people who aren't really that knowledgeable about gas ballooning come up and have a good look and a close look at it. So I really like that, and asking questions, and it's really fun to share this with people. Obviously, when you're flying, it's not, you can share via social media and stuff, but one-on-one, close up, that opportunity doesn't happen a lot. So I like that a lot. Yeah.
It's
and
very
speaking of social media, we were really constrained during this last flight because we did fly so high. Cell coverage is very, very limited up there, so we were really in more of an information blackout on this flight. We were really unable to share a lot of social media posts, which I like to do while we're flying. You saw some of the paper airplane shots, throwing those out. People love that, so I usually try to post one of those during the flight, and they get a million comments, which is fun. But we weren't able to do any of that because we were just so high. We didn't have cell coverage. So it was really on the landing when we were coming down that we started to get our phones blowing up with all the messages from people during the flight. And it's one of those things, you'd like to read them, but you just can't. You got to focus and fly the balloon.
Yeah. How was the landing?
Well, the landing was perfect. It was great. We were targeting this airport down in Big Spring, Texas, about 3 hours prior to landing, knowing we were going to be in the proximity around sunrise. Maybe it was going to be a little before sunrise. And I was thinking, well, if it's before sunrise, I'm a fixed wing pilot. So, I operate around airports all the time. So I know that I can turn the airport lights on with my aircraft radio without a problem. So if we were there a few minutes early, we'd be able to turn the lights on. Obviously, airports don't have a lot of obstacles, a lot of power lines. Landowner issues aren't an issue if you land on an airport. We should be able to get out there and get the balloon without too much trouble. And it's easy for our crew to tell them, hey, go to Big Spring Airport and hang out there. And they actually did. And they were able to provide us with wind reports on the ground, which was really handy. And it turned out the wind was right down the runway. So we were thinking we might be able to even land on the runway. But it ended up being that we had a little bit of a low-level jet, probably about 14 knots, a couple hundred feet above the ground that we didn't even know about. So we were coming down. We went upwind quite a ways to be able to do the downwind turn closer to the ground, knowing what the ground winds were. But as we did that descent into the airport, it really picked up. And so we had to really valve quite aggressively to get through that layer and make it down to the ground. But it was a stand-up landing. We didn't have to deploy the trail rope. It was our crew was there waiting for us. It was perfect. It really couldn't have gotten any better.
That's a good moment to tell us about the crew. Tell me about your crew, Noah, your ground crew, your chase crew, and your meteorology, your weather. Who's looking after all that? You can give everybody a name.
Yeah. Sure. We had some friends of mine. Mike Coolmoose is a longtime balloon builder and blimp builder and very talented engineer. He and his wife, Wendy Curtis, were chasing us with their motorhome, their RV, their camper. And they drove the balloon out from Massachusetts, picked it up in Valley where Bert lives, and out to Albuquerque. Mike is a big powered paraglider guy. So along the way, he stopped at some paraglider meets out in Kansas and had a great time. So he's never been to Albuquerque. This is his first time, so he was excited to do that. So they had a good time, a good chase. Everything went well. I think it was right after we got the balloon packed away after landing, we got a flat tire in the RV. So we were all joking that if you're going to get a flat the whole trip, this was the perfect time because everything was put away. We were in great spirits, having just landed. We didn't know we won yet, but Peter and Barbara are still in the air, but we were all very excited about it. So they had a good time. Being that it was a COVID year, we kind of kept our crew to a minimum.
Yeah.
It was really just the two of them that came out with us, Bert and I, and our two ground crew, and we had some help that met us there that were more local for help with the inflation. But we really kept the crew to kind of a bare bones this year just because of COVID. And obviously we missed all of our European friends and competitors. And it's really unfortunate that they were unable to make it this year. But as far as our weather, Don Day was helping out with the meteorology, and we were in contact with Don via satellite phone regularly throughout the race. And Don's been helping us for many years, and Bert for many years, and they're good friends and have been working together on all kinds of projects, not just gas balloon racing, but other things. So Don's wonderful. He provided updates every 2 or 3 hours to us, which were very helpful.
Fantastic. Well, that's a good way to leave it. I think, Noah, it's been a fantastic chat. Good to catch up with you, and thanks for your time. And I really hope to see you in Switzerland. If not, hopefully I'll see you in Albuquerque next year.
Thank you, Regan. I've always enjoyed your productions, and to be honest, I've learned a lot about gas ballooning watching all of these in detail. So thank you.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take care, buddy. Have a great day.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.